Morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m. It is March 18th. We finally had a little break out of balance yesterday. Market was pretty much overall breadth was pretty strong. Everything was moving up. So I expected a move up, but we are pulling back. So obviously, Besant, the Treasury Secretary, is saying he can't guarantee no recession. That there is not a recession, which he said is ridiculous that he can guarantee it. More tariff talk, and the usual news that's been going on in the markets, right? Tariffs. There was some strike, and that's why oil is up this morning. So, stuff that's going on here. Now, we have FOMC tomorrow. So, today, maybe we just hang around. But we pretty much almost pulled back to the breakout area in the NASDAQ. Almost, almost the ES, but we'll have to see. So, why don't we get right into it? Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That's how I find my edge in the markets. Okay, along with market internals. Now, yesterday I kind of did some um, changing it up a little. I think for myself, did some more equity plays. Actually traded some stocks, options that I had on from last week. Um, Anticipating a bounce. So those are looking pretty good. Some of those are Bank of America, VST, Oracle, Microsoft, I think Western Alliance, and I don't know if I said this, Netflix. So Netflix was the shiner yesterday with that gap up. So that's just what I'm trying to like not put so much weight into futures every second of every moment. Only when my setup shows up or setups that I know that I'm successful with, I'm really going to take action. Otherwise, I do a lot of work over the weekends with stocks, and sometimes I just forget about the work I did, even though I have alerts, and I concentrate on futures. Where it's like yesterday, let's say I went long on Bank of America, and that was relatively strong compared to the market, and it just kept pushing, 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 and I was just like, you know, and then I did see that futures. I was like, I might go long here. But I was already long in a couple assets. So that's my, take I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to just go where there's an easier play. We'll see how that turns out. But I feel like I'm just forcing some trades in futures and not really waiting for the setups I'm successful at. So I have a lot of tools in my belt and I need to take advantage of them. So that's that little spiel. Now, hopefully you guys can join me every day. All right, do this every morning. Give it a lowdown. Give it a story. All right, economic calendar, market news, leaders and laggards, and I'll give you the long and short trade scenarios of my ES futures. Now, don't get me wrong. ES futures still will still drive even the equity um, trades that I do. So it's still based around all of that. It's based around all of that. Okay. All right. Why don't we get right into the watch list here? Boom. Okay. All right. Let's look at the leader. We have silver. Silver is up 1.59%. I'm a proud owner of some silver. VIX is up 1.56. Crude, like I said, there were some airstrikes or something. I have to look at that again. They're up 1.44%. I do have a bull call spread um, in crude. So gold continues to rise over 3,000, up 1.1%. 10-year yield is up today, 0.42. The dollar is up 0.11. Dow is down 0.18. ES down 0.27. 30-year bonds being sold. Nasdaq's down 0.44. Russell's down 0.57. Bitcoin down 2.03%. 0.37 and Ethereum down 2.62. Okay, let's look at the Mag 7 Plus. Leader Eli Lilly up 0.64, followed by Berkshire Hathaway, and Netflix is flat. And we got a bunch of laggards here. Let's start off with Nvidia down 0.44, Meta's down 0.48, Amazon down 1.35, Coinbase down 1.63, Broadcom down 2.09%, and Tesla's down almost 3%. Tesla continues to get hammered. It really continued to get hammered. Discretionary sector is just continuing to be weak. So, pretty crazy there. All right. All right. So let's move over to the sectors. And let's see who's leading. Energy. Okay. Energy. Followed by basic materials. That would be some miners in there. And who's lagging? We got financials only down slightly. Semis down 0.29. Technology down 0.35. And discretionary, the big loser with Tesla and Amazon. If Home Depot slightly down. Those are the top three holdings in discretionary. So that's your watch list. Okay. Now we can move on to some economic calendar here. Today we have building permits, housing starts, export prices, housing starts, import prices. There's really nothing today. API crude. Tomorrow's the big day. FOMC. Now let's get into some news here. So Nvidia expected to reveal details of its latest AI chip at conference. Fed watchers see good chance of change in balance sheet drawdown. Alphabet back in talks to buy Israel's Wiz for over 30 billion. Apple loses German antitrust appeal. So they were down because of that earlier. They're slightly down. NASA astronauts head home on SpaceX capsule after a drawn-out space station stay. All right. Looks like XPeng. We'll get into that later. Let's see here. If there's anything else to talk about. I think Chevron's buying something. No. Let's see. Just trying to see here what else that I really want to talk about. Nothing else. Let's get into these news. Okay. Nvidia stock fell 0.4% ahead of CEO Jensen Huang's keynote address at the chip making giant GTC conference in California. Adobe stock fell 0.3 after the computer software company expected to provide more insight into their AI strategy during a meeting with analysts at the Photoshop Owners Digital Experience Conference. Alphabet stock fell 0.2 after the Wall Street Journal reported the Google parent is in advanced talks to acquire cybersecurity startup Wiz. Apple stock fell 0.2 after that. They lost that antitrust suit. XPeng stock fell 1.5 after the Chinese electrical vehicle market reported better than expected fourth quarter results. Tesla stock fell 3.3%, continuing to decline after dropping for 8 straight weeks amid concerns that CEO Elon Musk's political activities are damaging the brand. Ralph Lauren stock rose 3.2 after Goldman Sachs upgraded its stance on the luxury clothes retailer to buy from neutral. Okay. Now, that oil thing, it was right here. I believe it's right in here. Yeah. So crude rises after Gaza strikes. Oil price rose Tuesday, adding to previous session's gains after Israel launched airstrikes across Gaza, reigniting hostilities after stalled hostage negotiations. Okay, so that's what's going on with oil. Now we look at the juice, and you got some comments from here from Treasury Secretary Bessent. He says for some countries, the April 2nd tariff may be low. He also said reciprocal tariffs won't be automatic 25% plus 25%. Then he says Trump asked me to rethink U.S. sanctions regime. So that's what's going on. There's a lot of always headlines here with tariffs and all right. And I think we're gonna move on now to the daily charts. I showed you guys the breadth charts yesterday. Now, why don't we get into some daily charts? All right, let's look at the good old SPY. Okay, so we had this little bounce. We broke it yesterday, right? We actually went. We Yeah. So we're still inside last week's range, right? But we broke out of this little balance, this 4-day balance, right? So, why is this throwing me off? Oh, we actually went right up to last week's highs. That's where we found resistance at last week's highs. Okay, so we're still within last week's range. We literally dipped our toe above that last week's lows. I'm sorry, last week's highs. Last week's highs. Can we hit the 200-day moving average? I don't know. 572.74. Where are we at now? 560, 530, 560, 530. We are in the middle of yesterday's range. So we're at the midpoint of yesterday. Okay. Let's look at some futures here. Actually, look at some drawings here. Key level right there. And look at that. Resistance level right there. All right, moving on. Let's see futures. Just get a little look, a little preview on what we're doing right now. You can see that's why we're in the middle of the session, right? Middle of the session, hit the 9 EMA daily. We're still way within last week's range. We're in the middle of last week's range, actually. All right, moving on to the Qs. All right, so the Qs bouncing off that year-to-date anchor VO from last year. All right, hit last week's highs, wicked above it, closed below it. All right, also hit the backside of this trend line, 9 EMA daily. That 9 EMA daily has not really been touched for a long time. Okay, so let's see what happens. All right, let's go to the Qs this morning. 480, let's call it 480.70. 480.70 right here. So a little lower than the mid. Okay, a little lower than the mid. Let's look at the live look of futures. A little lower than the mid here. All right, so broke out. Now, do we get continuation? Hit the 9 EMA daily. We just have to see. All right, now we move on to the triple-headed monster here. That's your bond market. That's your VIX and your dollar. Okay. And it's just moving sideways right now. Look at that barcode. Right there. Right? And I said this either becomes a swing high or we start to push up. But look at that, right? The 2024 anchor VWAP, you can see where that starts, that yellow right there. So from the beginning of last year, if we zoom in right there, look, that anchor VWAP for the year literally is sliced this whole time in half. And it's right there. Okay. 20-day simple moving average, you can see the 90 EMA daily is flat. That means we're moving sideways. That's exactly what we're doing. We have a declining 200-day moving average. We have to see what the 10-year is doing. Okay. Now, moving on to the dollar. That dollar has taken a big fall. Boom. And we're just holding here. Just like the 10-year. Okay. Moving on to the VIX. I think I put this up here. I can't remember. Moving on to the VIX here. The VIX has been coming down. Okay, you can see the descent right there. We were all the way up almost at 30 and we're back down to 20.86. Okay, 20.86. I don't expect this to go any more down because FOMC tomorrow, but I don't think anybody expects anything but a pause tomorrow. Okay, moving on. We're going to move on to main event. That's your market profile and your volume profile. Let me get that up. And I did roll over my futures contracts. So when you see it, it will be the price of the contract, the next contract. I'm just setting the chart up. All right, so let's look at that together. Here we are with the new prices, with my new levels. All right, so let me get my marker out, and this is your market profile, volume profile. We're going to mark this up. Look at structure. Okay. So most traded price of the week is in this new thing, 56.50. Let's call it right here. That's the real-time trading hours most traded price of the week. Now the 24-hour is 56.83 right here. Okay. So let's look at what happened yesterday. And yesterday was a little weird. Now it's moving weird because of rollover. That's why it's this weird movement, because there's two contracts trading futures. Okay. And eventually by Friday, by next Monday, we'll be all into the June contract. All right. So let's look at yesterday. And yesterday was interesting. Right. We opened here. Right. Pushed down a little bit, went all the way up to here, and then pulled back right here. Okay, right to value area low yesterday, and then just finally caught some steam, and then boom, went right up into the supply zone. Right up into the supply zone, pulled back at the end of the day, closed right here. Okay, that's what happened yesterday. And yesterday the market really was never weak. That's why, like, I almost pulled along on there, just because the market internals. I'll show you that really quickly. Finally, that we had less volatility. They're more reliable, because volatility was insane with these. But if you look at yesterday, you look at the market internals, never really went negative. Never went negative. Look at all these sectors, how green they were. And right in here where we pulled back, I believe is in here, I was like, oh, this looks like a nice long, because even the Vol D was very bullish. The NYSE had a 6-to-1 volume going into upstock versus downstocks. That is pretty bullish. And then the Nasdaq finished almost at 2-to-1. Look at that. Look at that breadth. 416 advancing, 77 advancing out of the 100 in the Nasdaq. That is very bullish. Okay. So internals, not to say that they weren't reliable. It's just that when you're 5 times the volatility, these readings, you have to almost, it's like hard, very hard, and they change on a dime. But yesterday kind of recovered. So the internals are a little more reliable. They're a little more slower. Like, you can really say okay, instead of just getting whipped all around. Okay. All right. So let's look at what we're looking at now. All right. So we have an inside day, inside session of the overnight. Here's your overnight high. Here's your overnight low. Here's yesterday's highs, yesterday's lows. So the inside session here. Okay. So this is the midpoint of yesterday, 57.22. We're a little below that. So we have some demand zones here. Now here was that breakout point, that 57.01. Well, that wasn't the level it was the level I talked about, but not the number, because I rolled my futures over. So right there, it broke out that level. Right now, it hasn't hit that level again, but this is almost all taken back now. Okay, almost all taken back. And like I said, I don't know what we do today, because we have FOMC tomorrow. Okay, so first thing, let's look at some nuance here, levels. So the inventory, you have a poor high here. That means you have a longs at poor location at the top of this range, right? But we're inside yesterday. So what are we going to look at here? So we have supply here and demand right next to each other. That just means indecision, and we're right in the middle of these two levels, right? So it's to me it's either, and you have the most traded price. So let's say this 57.33 to 58 right here is important, this level. Okay, and obviously this supply zone has the month to date VWAP and yesterday's highs. Okay. And then we have from yesterday, you have overnight lows. And let's even go down to the lows here. Okay. So these are really the levels you want to look at. Now, of course, you have the most traded price of the week in the real time trading hours right here. Okay. So this is the levels that I'm kind of going to be working with today. And we'll get right into scenarios here. Start with the bull case. Okay, so if you're a bull, all right, you want to see a couple things. Do we come back, take out the overnight lows, and hit this demand and get some love? And then we can start to push up through that confluence high right here. Take that out, touch yesterday's highs, maybe tap this month to date VWAP. Okay, now that's number one. Well, not number one, it's just one of the scenarios. Okay, what also can happen? We can drive up, break this poor high, and that confluence high 57.38, pull back to the most traded price, and then go up. It's another one. And then say the last one would be you came down, break this demand, but then you go right back into this big demand. You can't spend a lot of time here. That would be bearish. But if you did kind of one of these and started to break up, you could probably come up to here, maybe test yesterday's highs. Remember, FOMC tomorrow. That's only things I'm interested there. Okay. Now, as far as the bear side, okay, what do they want? Okay, right here on the bear side, if you push up and wick above this high, and then you come through here, the most traded price, you're going to fall and test this demand. Okay, also the most traded price here, the overnight at 57.19. You could take out the overnight lows, right? And then this box here, if you tap yesterday's lows, we could find ourselves back the most traded price of the week, 56.53. Okay, if you take that out, you got an overnight low here. We could test this 56.16. Okay. Now, one more scenario. If the market was able to go up here and get into this supply, touch yesterday's highs, maybe even tap month-to-date view up and come through and get lower highs, I think we settle in somewhere here for FOMC. Okay, that's your scenarios for the ES. Let's move on to the NASDAQ. All right, let's look at that NASDAQ together, and we'll just look at the what happened yesterday. Now, ultimate balance level. Remember, I was talking about that yesterday. Here's your ultimate balance. Big moves come from ultimate balance. And the NASDAQ was initially weak. Okay, so it opened up, pushed up, and then came all the way down and tested this ultimate balance. Okay, and there was a demand here. I made a new demand, but there was a different demand here that it pulled right into. That's where I was like, ooh, this might be a nice long in ES, because ES at this time was relatively stronger. Okay, and then it got bought up right from here, and we know what happened. What could it hit? Month to date anchor VWAP and supply. Okay, close down here. Okay, now today we have another inside session, so it's overnight highs, overnight lows, yesterday's lows, yesterday's highs. Okay, so we're inside again, and this is the same. I actually like this a little better than the ES. Got this monster level here. It really is just your wall. Okay, and if you can't accept value below it, can't find acceptance below it, it's bullish. Okay, so our levels here. Okay, you got a supply and overnight highs. You got yesterday's highs with this supply month to day VWAP. You got a demand zone right here at the overnight lows. Okay, and then you have the ultimate balance level with demand here. That's what I'm looking at here, right? And of course, we're going to get right into scenarios here. Okay, we're going to start with the bull side. Okay, so we're right here. We're below the mid of yesterday, right? Below the mid of yesterday, inside yesterday's session. So really, it's do we hold this demand, right? I don't know if we do, but what I would like here is even if we pushed into this level. Now, of course, we could just push here and take off, okay? But I really think that this will get broken, the overnight lows, and you'll test by yesterday's lows. And it's all about how to react inside this level because it's just a monster level. If again, like yesterday, you bounce and start accepting value or price above, we're probably going to go break that overnight highs and we're probably going to test yesterday's highs. Okay. That's kind of what I would love to look for, right? Because of course you can come up here and just take this out, but that's not really something I'd probably like to trade. This is something like you get a little weakness, it recovers, bulls take over, and we move up. Okay. It's bear side now. Okay, so we're down here, right? Now bears have a lot of work to do. You're above this ultimate balance level, which is about 198.57. Okay, 198.57. They have a lot of work to do to get under this. Okay, so one move that might be decent if you push up here, hit the overnight highs, can roll over, and I would think you probably get somewhere in here, and you might just balance this off. Okay, that's one. Okay, now of course if you find acceptance below here, that spells trouble, and you can go down to this 196.30. Okay, what else can happen? You could go down, take out the yesterday's lows, hold, and also wind up down here. Anything below that monster level is bearish. Okay. One other thing, you can push up into this supply zone, hit the month to date VWAP, take out RTH, and we can come back in here and just balance off for FOMC. Okay. So that's your scenarios today. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Please smash the like button. That would be much appreciated. All right. Now, what was I going to say here? Oh, yeah. Join me every day. Do this every morning. I give you the lowdown of story, the market news, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards. Okay. And I give you the long and short trade scenarios like I just did. Now, like I said, I'm spreading out that I used to. So, give me some background real quick. I used to trade options spreads more than futures, and I was profitable. I was profitable every month. Okay, and then I would just pop in and out of futures. Um, for the last, I don't know, 14, 15 months, I've been consistently profitable day trading futures, and I kind of almost ignored the options that I would do homework on the weekends, but then I would so be so fixated on futures that I kind of let that that work that I would do almost like not take advantage of it. And then I would review it and be like, oh, well, you did say to get long here. And then I wouldn't do it. So now it's just about going in that pocket of the market and seeing the easiest low hanging fruit, right? Because sometimes the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq might be doing something, and individual stocks, ones that are relatively strong or relatively weak, are doing something totally different. And when I can see that in an RRG chart, because that's what I've been using as of late. That's what I'm saying the other day, that I've been like doing a lot of coding and creating my own stuff. That really helped me yesterday with the long in Bank of America. And Bank of America options are not great because it doesn't move. So I had to really put some nice shares on Bank of America to take advantage of that price action. Now I'm still long. I took some off yesterday, but that enabled me, the RRG chart, to see that Bank of America in the financial sector was one of the leading, the strongest ones. So that's why I chose that one, right? And then I had to look at the chart and see if I liked it, and then I did. So that's been working out. Right now, who knows what happens today? I don't know. Um, Netflix is another one. Oracle. So Microsoft. Who knows what happens today? Like I said, I'm not expecting a ton because of FOMC tomorrow. If there is a big move, all right, down or up, I would expect some reversion to the mean today. Okay. Now that's my story. We got our plans, right? No trades, a trade. Cash is a position. Stay green, and I will see you guys tomorrow.